Hello and welcome to this workshop. We're looking at a couple of scenes from Ralph Roister Doister by Nicholas Udall, a playwright who really loves doing fiddly comic business. The way he writes dialogue is very overlappy at times. It intersects with quite detailed physical business. And these two scenes that we're looking at today, we're looking at Act 4, Scene 7 and 8, which I jokingly labelled the Battle of Mumblecrust. It isn't the Battle of Mumblecrust, it's the Battle of Custance's Honour. I think is perhaps a better title for it. And it features a lot of quite physical business. And we've done a first look read through of this play. We're working towards doing a second look read through. And these scenes are the scenes that are going to make it quite difficult to just run through without some kind of prep. A lot of plays you can just read through and say the dialogue and it's fine, and you maybe vaguely work together in advance to figure out some fiddly bits. This bit is all fiddly. It's just fiddly everywhere. So we're going to go through these two scenes looking for the comic beats. We're also looking for the physical fighty action beats, with a general emphasis towards how we might try and do it on Zoom, but also bearing in mind how we might also do it in a physical theatre universe kind of thing. So we're going to be reading through this play. We haven't assigned parts. We're just going to go for random volunteers as we go. In the room with me today, and I'm just going to ask everyone to say hello and wave when they're introduced. So we have today in the room, we have Eric.
Hi.
We have Alan.
Hi.
We have Alexandra.
Over here.
We have Sarah.
Hello.
We have Elizabeth. Possibly on a time delay. We have Helen.
Hey.
We have Aliki. Have we lost Aliki? We have Valentina.
Hello.
And we have... Who did I miss? Stephen. Yes, Stephen.
Hi.
There is Stephen. So the Aliki is here. Are you here, Aliki?
I am here.
Yes. I didn't hear anything. Okay, so, and I'm Robert, and I'll be vaguely leading the charge through these two scenes and the details going in. So, what's going on in this play? Well, as far as this scene is concerned, there's a chap called Ralph Roister Doister. He's quite keen on Custance, and he's being led on by Merry Greek, who is also leading him on from the other side as well. He's basically being led on by Merry Greek, who's also trying to confuse everybody by working for the other side. So Merry Greek is completely untrustworthy and trying to get Ralph Roister Doister hit as many times as possible. That's basically the game for anyone playing Merry Greek. Ralph Roister Doister is a roisterer and a doisterer, and is completely outmatched by everybody. Custance is a respectable woman who's already affianced to somebody else. There is a witness in the area who is there to witness that this battle is happening and to attest that she is fighting for her honor and does not want any of these annoying people getting in the way. And Custance runs a household and has lots of sturdy, wonderful women to fight her corner, and that is what the battle that we are moving towards. Ralph Roister Doister has his own servants with him. Their precise physical locations is something we're going to discuss as we go through. And as I say, we're going from Act 4, Scene 7. It's not it's one of these plays that breaks scenes up depending on entrances and exits of things rather than the actual change of location. So technically, this is sort of in the middle of a very long scene, a lot of business. People have been running on and off. So Merry Greek in the previous scene has just effectively betrayed Ralph Roister Doister and has agreed with Custance that this big fight is going to happen. And it's all going to go horribly wrong. And Merry Greek is going to wind Roister Doister up. And that's the scene that we're going to be looking at first as we get towards fiddly, complicated comedy business, just to give us a bit of a run-up. Who fancies reading a roisterer and a doisterer? Who wants a volunteer? Volunteers from the room. Let's see a hand before I pick someone at random. Eric is a roisterer. We may swap people around later because we don't necessarily have that many exciting parts. Who fancy being a bit of a rogue merry Greek? Aliki has volunteered for that. Now there are other people on stage at the moment, so I need a Doughty. Elizabeth, would you like to be Doughty? And who fancies being Harpax? I'll throw that at Sarah for the moment. Sarah can be Harpax. Don't worry, you don't say anything at the moment. Nothing is said between them. It just, in theory, you're on stage, possibly with some drumming in the background.
Okay.
So let's get a little bit of context. The opening lines of dialogue here is just to get us in the zone before we get to some of the more fiddly comic business. So Ralph Roister Doister enters with Merry Greek and his men. Go Roister. Now, sirs, keep your ray.
Now, sirs, keep your ray and see your hearts be stout. But where be these caitiffs? Methinks they dare not rout. How sayest thou, Merry Greek? What doth Kit Constance say?
I am loath to tell you.
Tush, speak, man, yea or nay?
Forsooth, sir, I have spoken for you all that I can. But if you win her, you must e'en play the man, e'en to fight it out. You must a man's heart take.
Yes, they shall know, as thou knowest, I have a stomach.
A stomach, quod you, yea, as good as e'er man had.
I trow they shall find and feel that I'm a lad.
By this cross, I have seen you eat your meat as well as any that e'er I've seen of, or heard tell. A stomach, quod you, he that will deny, I know was never a dinner in your company.
Nay, the stomach of a man it is, that I mean.
Oh, nay, the stomach of a horse or a dog, I ween.
Nay, a man's stomach with a weapon, mean I.
10 men can scarce match you with a spoon in a pie.
Nay, the stomach of a man to try and strife.
But I ne'er saw your stomach cloyed yet in my life.
Tush, I mean in strife or fighting to try.
We shall see how you will strike now, being angry.
Have at thy pate then, and save thy head if thou may.
Nay then, have at your pate again by this day.
Nay, thou mayst not strike at me again, in no wise.
I cannot make you such warranties. But as for your foes, here, let them the bargain buy.
Sorry, lost the line. Nay, as for that, they shall every mother's child die. And in this my fume, a little thing might make me to beat down house and all, else the devil take me.
If I were as he be, my dog's dear mother, I would not leave one stone upon another, though she would redeem it with 20,000 pounds.
It shall be even so, by his lily wounds.
Be not at one with her upon any amends.
No, though she make to me never so many friends, not if all the world for her would undertake. No, not God himself, neither shall not her peace make.
On!
Therefore,
Sorry.
march forward, soft, stay a while yet.
On!
Tarry,
Forth!
back,
On!
soft. Now, forward set.
Okay, I'm just going to pause there. So we're just getting into the zone, figuring out, those who've done it before, remembering where they were, and those who weren't there before, starting to get a sense of the game. So Merry Greek is sort of pushing Roister forward. Roister wants to look like he wants to go forward and go into this fight that's going to happen, but actually clearly doesn't want to go forward at all. So there's a certain amount of hitting each other going on, as is conventional, I'm sure, between young lads scrapping for a fight. So there's a certain amount of ow, ooh, back and forth going on, and it is a question here, first of all, how we might convey that kind of business. It's you know, it's either it's the kind of thing that on stage we would have maybe a bit of shoving or a slap on the back of the head, you know, and how do we denote that? And so that we have that coming up as well as the back and forth. Let's start with, how do we hit each other? How have thoughts on this kind of low level hit, not punching in the face, just gentle, playful slaps? Any thoughts on the room? I'll get lots of hands flying up there. Helen.
No, I was trying to slap somebody. I wasn't asking for attention. I was just seeing how it looked.
Yeah. Sarah, lots of people are doing interesting waving. Sarah looks like she wants to say something.
I was thinking like I seem to have my camera at a weird angle, but I was thinking something like a back of the hand, like type. Because the thing is about the back of a hand, it kind of suggests a kind of lightness that if you hit someone with your palm forward, I don't know, it just kind of doesn't look right somehow. But this suggests a kind of, you know, like a sort of swipey kind of move, which could be the equivalent of like a on-stage push, maybe. I don't know.
Alexandra.
It depends on what we want to achieve and what we're establishing as a language to the audience, because there are ways in which you bend reality that kind of make more sense. So, for example, you know, the back of the hand thing, as you say, it feels lighter. It's actually a stronger strike than a forehand. The idea that you're using the camera as the other person, if you establish that as a feature of what we're doing, then you could do whatever it is that you're doing as interactions in your screen to camera, and the other person is responding reacting as if they've been, you know, hit from the other side of the camera, and you do or don't also add in the hand on their side and stuff like that. But shoves and pushes can also be done relatively easily, because if I send my hand through and past the camera, it can arrive in the other person's space and then sort of bounce off. So it's on Zoom, it's a question of what language you want to establish and how you want to do it, because you don't have to make the camera the other person. Right? There are quite a few fun things that you can do in treating it as the vignettes as though they are physically next to each other, right? So yeah, what my question is, with a very long preamble, what language do we want to establish? Because then it depends on that.
Because yes, it's the response to that is also which is the most straightforward for our point of view, because if we're just looking for a second look set of conventions, if trying to establish a side-to-side anything that goes laterally, as we've already discovered, some of us are going going the opposite direction of other people in terms of the way our cameras are set up. So it's actually quite difficult to, you've got to make sure you know which way the other person is going, and quite apart from their relationship to where their video is. The advantage of a forward and back is that everyone, that dimension is always the same. And with this motion, it feels like it's very much a shove would be the most appropriate to make that work. So
which is easily enough achievable without anything passing to the other side of the camera. If you do a shove forward and I'm close enough to camera that I can go ahead, Aliki. Ow. Right. That's all we need, and the message is clear. We've shown what's going to happen, and we've seen what happened as a reaction, and nothing has to pass through. Nothing has to kind of be left and right and confusing.
Other questions or thoughts, Eric?
I was just gonna say that you could also do like punches, but if you punch down, then the other person just reacts like sort of to the side or downward, depending on where it comes from, or upward.
Yeah, Stephen.
Yeah, well, sort of developing that point really. Maybe a coherent way to approach it would be to think about how we want the reactions to look rather than how we want the hits to look, so that it's driven by that. I did wonder about the lateral thing, but obviously it's not practical unless we're very well drilled. But perhaps given it's supposed to be comic, it's actually the reaction that we might think about and be led by in this particular circumstance.
Alexandra.
And also in this section that is onward, wait, hold back, forward, back, you get the idea of jostling and of pushing through, by doing what Aliki was doing, which is kind of motion forward, motion backwards in the same space. You're not even having to I mean, if you're standing, you can shift on your feet, but even seated, if you get really close to camera and get sort of 5 people to do that, it looks as though everyone is in a huddle. So if you've got, people going forward, and 2 characters moving backwards, which is, Ralph and Mary Greek, you establish that kind of physical relationship. And the idea that without it actually being directional or fixed in any way. Otherwise, you'd need quite a lot of rehearsing.
Which we're trying to avoid. For a second look, we're just trying to get for a second looks, we're trying to get the flow of the action without just sort of establish a few basic ideas, even if we don't get it perfect. So that we've got cues like this. If you know you're hitting someone or you're shoving someone, that we're doing it that way, and that the other person's job is to react when they're being hit or being shoved. Stephen, then Aliki.
Just to say, can we try the thing that Alexandra just did for forward, which is how many times you come towards the camera? And if we can all get that going in unison, that would be great.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be unison. It just has to be if everybody's going in a general forward direction and you take it as steps. So you're moving forward, stop, forward, stop,
Yes.
forward, stop,
Yes.
forward, stop.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. So that's great. Do we want to try that?
Yes, I do. I want us to go back a little bit and do the shoving moments. So for those who's reading Ralph at the moment, or Rafe, so you've got "Have at thy pate then and save thy head," which is a few lines up when you and Mary Greek are sort of just going back and forth. There's a shove moment there. And Mary Greek has "Nay then, have at your pate again by this day," and that's a shove back again. So we've got some shoves there, which need to be marked. And then that question of the going forward and going backness of Mary Greek's, the on, tarry, forth, back, on, soft. So let's go back a bit to Ralph Roister's "Tush, I mean in strife or fighting to try." So it's all about boasting from Roister and without actually engaging too much. Let's just briefly run that section through to the and see how that goes. If you're feeling confident with that.
Hang on.
So it's from "Tush, I mean in strife or fighting to try."
And we'll stop and start just to clearly indicate where bits of business need to live. So Roister, give us your opening dialogue there.
"Tush, I mean in strife or fighting to try."
We shall see how you will strike now, being angry.
"Have at thy
Shove.
pate then and save thy head if thou may."
Okay, we'll just go
Oh,
back.
yeah, it's
Let's
a matter
try
of
that again.
I'll tell you what's really hard is managing the script and
Yeah.
the faces at the same time.
Yeah, true.
So, okay.
In an ideal world, of course, the actual shove would be written in your script rather than just something I've added.
Okay, where is the shove coming?
Have at thy pate then.
Shove. And okay,
Shove.
that makes sense.
I think we'll put it on the then or after the then.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then you hit back at the end of your next line. "Nay, then have at your pate again by this day." Shove.
Okay. Okay.
See
So
how that
I did a strike on strike. Do you want me to do that or not? We shall see how you will strike now, being angry.
Oh yeah, I haven't thought of putting one in there. Yeah, put one in
Yeah,
there.
I was thinking of that one too.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it. Give the cue line. "Tush, I mean."
"Tush, I mean in strife or fighting to try."
We shall see how you will strike now, being angry.
"Have at thy pate then and save thy head if thou may." Yeah, sorry, I just lost the context there. "Have at thy pate then and save thy head if thou may."
Nay, thou may not strike me again in no wise.
Okay, that's backward.
Okay, so that's really highlighting, the
We changed
difficulty of
roles.
doing script action at the same time as physical action, without rehearsal. It's good to see. It's good to see. Don't go for the reason why we're doing this in this way is to highlight what is difficult to do, and to share what is difficult to do as well. Actually, to make these things clear. Sarah, muted at the moment.
I think with the shoves, like it worked really well with the hands up until about this. I'm wondering if like take it sort of down,
okay.
like whether that would work to take it down off camera, because it was like, and then because actually seeing the hands when the movement stopped, seeing the movement hands when the movement was in progress was working really well, but seeing the hands when the movement stopped just somehow messed with my my suspension of disbelief. If
logically it would keep going, like if you push someone. Okay, that makes sense.
Alexandra,
if you push someone in reality, the movement stops at the point that you land on them and then continues, right? So rather than try and do that in separate pieces, you could just go, show what's going to happen, reach forward and stop. And because the other person has seen what's occurring and that it's arriving, by the time it's left your screen, we figure it's arriving in their space, giving them the shove without actually doing that, right? So if you do what you did, Aliki, if you show me what's going to happen and then push through, the moment your hands, so without your face coming forward so that it disappears as well, the moment your hands have gone, my body can respond to that. If I see your whole hand and then it comes through, there we go, right? So it's look at this, here it comes, bang. If that's making sense. It's the sort of thing that would need, again, establishing as a system. Ow, okay. As I was saying, it's a thing that needs establishing as a system, but what you just did was, I think, achieves what we're trying to do is tell a physical story, right? So if we can say to an audience, this is what that means, and we always follow the same system, then as an audience, we're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's, her hands left her screen, and then Eric, bounced back. That must have been a shove. I had an unrelated question, which is that have at thy pate sounds like head level attacks, which we just talked about, and like slaps doesn't really feel like it. So it could very well be, these kind of shoves, which makes it.
If I was doing it on stage, I would do slap round the back of the head. Kind of things. That's the kind of action, because you can cheat it very, very, very nicely, and it's the kind of thing. It's very NCIS for those who watch that.
But for Zoom,
but for Zoom, I don't think that's practical. That's
No.
It's just unless you have especially if I say we're just marking the idea for a second look rather than necessarily doing it perfectly and beautifully. Other thoughts before we move into that forward and backward motion kind of stuff, Sarah?
That was why I suggested the forward thing, because I was thinking it would be a cuff around the back of the head as well. So like, I'm wondering if that could be like the Zoom equivalent of, especially actually if the person who's receiving has come in a bit, if they're being a bit like challenging or whatever, and then they get slapped and it's like, ooh, there could maybe be a,
Well, I was just doing maybe just a flick.
A flick, yeah, that could work as well.
It's quite an aggressive, and there's so much motion blur on my camera because of the way it's set up. That again, being too defined is actually a disadvantage for us, I think. But by being a bit blurry, it's just a kind of thing, and then that means the reaction is more important. And again, it's the kind of thing where actually it's the pulling back that from the actual aggressor as well is part of the motion. So it's not like it's a motion that goes off out of screen. It might be something that goes in and then comes back.
Yeah,
Eric.
And it's
Sorry, I was just going to say that if you overreact, though, it just, especially in this context, it just looks very sort of like Matrix, like, whoa!
It is supposed to be comedy, though, so
yeah.
I think we're allowed. If this was a serious fighty scene, then it might be a different kettle of fish. Aliki.
I think it might be a mistake to say, oh, well, this is comedy, will be different in tragedy, because I don't think, given our lack of rehearsal and generally our fairly, chaotic when everybody can manage working practices, I'm not sure that we'll be able to establish two physical languages for Zoom.
Oh no. I think that's fair. And again, we're marking the idea of scenes rather than necessarily always giving them the fullest justice. Alexandra, you were going to say something.
I was just saying it's the clarity of the aggression and the clarity of the reaction that tells the story. So it's the fact that we're going, this hand is going to strike, this hand has struck. And even though there's motion blur, it's that has happened. And we all get what is occurring. Whereas if it comes from nowhere or if it goes to nowhere, we don't know what's happening. And similarly on the reaction side, like as Eric just said, if you're relatively close to camera and you stay close to camera in your reaction, it's a lot easier to sell to an audience that happened, you just didn't see it. Whereas if you're miles away and you're going, ow, someone slapped me in the face, our mind is going, but I didn't see their hand.
And maybe we're making it too complicated by putting the hit lines in the middle of lines there as well. Maybe just making it at the end of the lines so that it's something easier to perform in this context. So we shall see how we will strike ye being angry. And the thing is, there's also making sure that you've got your hand that you're aggressing with in place, ready to strike, so that the other person knows that something's coming. Boomf. It's not like this is a sneak attack, for other performance. Communicating to the other person that you are about to do something terribly, terribly violent is really quite helpful. Depending on which kind of particular violence you wish to go for. Not suggesting that we should do too much physical violence. Do you want to try flickies, as it were, at the end of lines? So, being angry, if thou may, by this day, and try just hitting each other at the end of every line, and don't worry too much about what the text is. Just alternating hitting. So, Roister, after your tush line, hit Aliki, Merry Greek, hit back at the end of your line, and just alternate, and just see how that goes. Play around with it. Are we ready?
I mean, in strife, we're fighting to try. Oh yeah, too far. Sorry.
No, sorry. That was me still not being able to find my line, so that I just got hit.
So another thing is trying to be responsive to other people, giving an idea whether they're ready or not. Watch out for other people's cues as well. We've got so many moving objects here.
Objects like script, like Aliki.
Sometimes the line gets slower when you're not sure if the other person is with you.
Ow.
That was such a good punch. It hit two people.
Yeah, well.
Totally.
Tush. Okay, I got it.
We're with the tushing. Okay, so alternating hits. Roister gets his first hit in first.
Tush, I mean in strife or fighting to try.
We shall see how ye will strike now, being angry.
Have at thy pate then, and save thy head if thou may.
Nay then, have at your pate again by this day.
I cannot. Wait,
Yeah, and
no,
we'll let you. It's interesting what happened there. Was it sort of went an interesting tit for tat, got bigger. It started to escalate because it started off with just flicks, and then it just got into closed fist territory.
It makes sense though.
It was like this.
Okay, so that's giving us an idea of things. Any additional thoughts to the shape of that in terms of execution and things? Remember, we're not all of us are professionals. Trying to, and we're certainly not getting paid. So we are being Just trying our best is all that matters here. Other thoughts, Eric?
What happened was, it was interesting because I was watching Aliki's hand and I was like, well, that's going to hit the nose, and then like it has to hit something else later. So like, yeah, it was just interesting to think about like body parts and sort of like where it's aimed at, rather than like sort of where, you know, sort of the direction that it's going on camera. If that makes sense.
Yeah, Alan put into the chat the idea of slow-mo fighting. Now that's a whole different discipline that I think could be really fun. I quite like that. That might not be for this scene, but it's definitely one to have in the arsenal. Stephen.
Yeah, I was just typing a response when you said that. I think in a live performance, I think it would be nice to mix it in. Because it's got that sort of Hollywood blockbuster or Matrix, you know, connotation to it. So having a normal stage fight and then drop into the Matrix for the next bit and then back out of it. So as part of an arsenal, I think, because it's slightly meta, this, isn't it? Really. I don't Zoom maybe not, but live performance, I'd love to drop something like that in.
And we haven't even got to the battle thing. All we've done is get to a few slaps. Let's go to the marching forward bit on Tarry, fourth, back on, and we'll stick with the same Roister and Merry Greek for the moment. So remember that there are two other people on stage with you, at least, maybe two, maybe four. There might be four people, depending on our own interpretation. So the servants are there. And I say Merry Greek is trying to persuade you to go forward, and Roister kind of doesn't want to go forward. So we were talking about marching forward, and the way that might work for this little bit. We'll run in from Roister's "No, though she make me never so many friends," just to give you a bit of a run up. So Merry Greek's always going forward. Roister is always trying to go back. So might go forward, but then go back again. Let's just see how chaotically awful this can be before we try and tidy it up. Let's not worry about being good. We're not here to be good. We're just here to try things out. This is the thing.
No, though she make to me never so many friends, not if all the world for her would undertake. No, not God himself shall not her peace make. On, therefore, march forward. Soft. Stay a while yet.
On!
Tarry.
Forth!
Back.
On!
Soft. Now forward said.
So yes, on a physical thing, this is they're going to a door. They're going to assault the castle of Customs, and it needs to be full of that dynamic action of moving forward but then moving back. And yeah, can we get that across? Alexandra.
Well, we could do what Stephen was suggesting, where the idea is that on and forward are commands for the troops, for the rest of them. So everyone's moving forward except for Roister, who's going, no, wait, hang on a second.
So he says tarry, and then everybody goes back again.
No, I was thinking in terms of, so everyone's going forward at Merry Greek's command and carrying on with the forwards, while Roister's going, wait, hang on a second, just so that it isolates him as being the only person who's gone, right, everybody going that way, except for me.
Yeah, so everybody else, he's going backwards, everyone else is going forwards. Okay, let's try that with everybody else. We'll try that in a moment. Sarah first, muted at present.
There we go. Yeah, the other thing is, if you're coming forward, like it's really, when you're in, I mean, I rock backwards and forwards in my chair when I'm reading lines the whole time, but I think with this, it's really important if you're coming forward, you stay forward and don't rock back. So, on, forth, you have to go on, forth, on. And similarly, if you're going back, it's tarry, back, soft. Like you because like we do it automatically without realizing that we're doing it. But I mean, I certainly do. It's like we rock kind of back and forth, and it kind of ruins the effect of it if you're supposed to be going backwards and then you come back forward to say your next line. So it's about that, like Alexandra was saying, the beats and the stages, and making sure you keep your body present and in that position, if that makes sense.
Okay, so we're all in this scene now, because I'm going to say that Roister Doister has got a massive army rather than just 2 7s. So we're all going to try going forward, apart from Eric, who's going to try going backward. And we go forward on and forth, and Roister goes back on tarry, back and soft. We'll just go from the queue line in on, therefore march forward, because that's actually, in a sense, you have a forward motion actually there. That's your only forward motion. You go forward on, therefore forward, march forward, and then no, soft back, and then I think that's when you start going backwards. So you go forward and then you go back, whereas we all go forward when we're commanded to.
On, therefore, march forward. Soft, stay a while yet.
On!
Tarry.
Forth!
Back.
On!
Back. Soft. Now forward set.
And yes, of course, the only problem with that is, of course, it's then reliant on the entrance of Customs coming in on time, and that could be very interesting.
Yeah, they just keep going, falling off the stage.
So they're all heading towards a door, which is opened by Customs, who pretends to be terrified of the ensuing army, and then immediately exits. And so this is a sense the first sally in this terrifying fight. Alexandra.
There's something, I think, a potential for a joke there of going forward, get to here she arrives, and everyone goes, whoa!
Yeah. That's my thinking, because it's the only way we need to reset the room. Somehow. So Alexandra, I'm going to ask you to be Customs for your one line. I want you to switch your video off, and when you enter to say your line, we're all going to zip backwards. So we're going to do what we've just done, on, therefore march forward, exactly the same way again. And then we're going to have Customs as our cue. When she appears on video and talks to us, we all move back again and things. Sarah.
Can we pick a word from her speech? Like, are we all going to go back on what?
The first time she speaks.
What?
Yeah, just the moment she's there and talking, then that'll be lovely. Okay, Roister.
I'm just trying to see how far back I can go without, actually falling off the chair, and so on and so forth.
We are your willing army.
Okay. On, therefore, march forward. Soft, stay a while yet.
I think we'll go back and do that again.
I got. Yeah. Sorry.
So on, forth, on. Once again, Roister, get us going.
On, therefore, march forward. Soft, stay a while yet.
On.
Tarry.
Forth.
Back.
On.
Soft. Now forward set.
What business have we here? Out, alas, alas!
Didst thou see that, Mary Greek, how afraid she was? Didst thou see how she fled apace out of my sight? Ah, good sweet Constance, I pity her by this light.
I'll just pause there. That kind of worked, actually. The idea is there. It's that appearance of Customs, where what you really want is Customs to appear in a much bigger square than she was able to appear in, so that we're all clustered in small squares around her, and that would be lovely. But Zoom doesn't do that, so sadly, one day. Helen's saying something, but she's muted, so we don't know what it is.
I was saying Zoom doesn't do it unless you pay them significant amounts of money.
Okay, we're going to move forward. We're going to get to the battle because we need to get to the battle. So we're going to, generally speaking, just read on for a while until we reach a point where we make it looks good to stop. Do we want to swap round roisterers and merry Greeks? Somebody else wants to leap in and do some more detailed dialogue. We're just content to stay as we are. Well, stay as we are because nobody's leaping in. Okay, so we'll just go from the exit of Custance and we'll just read on. Ha 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 ha.
Ha ha ha! Didst thou see that, Merry Greek? How afraid she was. Didst thou see how she fled a pace out of my sight? Ah, good Constance, I pity her by this light.
That tender heart of yours will mar altogether. Thus will he be turned with wagging of a feather.
On, sirs, keep your ray.
On, forth, while this gear is hot.
Soft, the arms of Calais. I have one thing forgot.
What lack we now?
Retire, or else we all be slain.
Back, for the patch of God! Back, sirs, back again! What is great matter?
So I'm just going to pause there. So as you have been established, we should all still be doing onwards and back. This game is, we've done one sally at the door. The appearance of Custance has made us all retreat. Once again, we're going forward until Roister says retire or else we will be slain, and Merry Greek says back, and everybody runs away again. So again, we've got this potential cluster of ridiculously complicated business. Alexandra.
There is a restart queue, or there's a couple of restart pointers which are on says on fourth. So there's quite a bit of, hang on a second, what just happened? Oh, she came along. Okay, well, she's not scary. On! That gives us a moment to reset. In a mental sense. I mean, we physically reset to here already.
Yeah, but so on. So we move on forth, and then again, Merry Greek is given a reason for us to retreat, and we all retreat again. Shall we try that?
On what line do we all retreat again?
Back. So we've got on to go forward, and we've got back to go back.
Okay.
Basically, we're following Merry Greek's orders rather than anything else.
Oh yeah, we don't listen to Roister Doister. He's an idiot.
Okay.
Merry Greek's a deceitful, untrustworthy person, but at least knows what they're doing. Probably get us all brutally, very badly injured. Okay, Roister.
From on, sirs, keep your ray, or
no, we'll go from ha 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 after Custance. We've all retreated from Custance.
Ha ha ha! Didst thou see that, Merry Greek? How afraid she was. Didst thou see how she fled a pace out of my sight? Ah, good sweet Constance, I pity her by this light.
That tender heart of yours will mar altogether. Thus will ye be turned with wagging of a feather.
On, sirs, keep your ray.
On, forth, while this gear is hot.
Soft, what, by the arms of Calais, I have one thing forgot.
What lack we now?
Retire, or else we all be slain.
Back for the bash of God! Back, sirs! Back again! What is the great matter?
This hasty forthgoing had almost brought us all to utter undoing. It made me forget a thing most necessary.
Well remembered of a captain by Saint Mary.
It is a thing must be had.
Let us have it then.
But I wot not where or how.
Then wot not I when?
Of a chief thing I am to seek.
Tut, so will ye be when ye have studied a week. But tell me, what is it?
I lack yet an headpiece.
The kitchen collock of it, the best ends to grease. Run, fet it, Dobinet, and come at once withal, and bring with thee my pot gun hanging by the wall. I have seen your head with it full many a time, covered as safe as it had been with a scrine, and I warrant it'll save your head from any stroke, except perchance to be amazed with the smoke. I warrant your head therewith, except for the mist, as safe as it were fast locked up in a chest.
And we'll just pause there briefly. So you've sent one of the supernumeraries off to get a helmet of some description, which is probably just going to turn out to be a pot or a garbage can or a bath.
Yeah.
Some ridiculous ornament. Again, we can not worry too much about the passing of objects between people. It can be done in some fashion. But yes, arming himself on with some ridiculous piece of metal. And yes, so this is the gag. The joke is that, as I say, Roister doesn't really want to fight, and he's always trying to find excuses. And Merry Greek is going to stop it. Make sure he definitely goes into fight because you want him to get hurt. You want to hit him very, very hard. Okay, any questions or thoughts at this point before we move forward? No. Lovely. Okay, so Doughty returns. Who was Doughty? Elizabeth, I think, was Doughty. So Doughty, you have brought him his headgear. We'll give you the cue in, and lo here, Dominit Doughty cometh with it now.
Cura Dominit cometh with it now.
Yeah, sorry, yes, we'll start that again because we're all talking over each other. That's always good. Always good. Merry Greek again, the Q and low.
And lo, here our Dominit cometh with it now.
Sound is well enough.
Let me see it on.
And in faith it doth meetly well.
There can be no fitter thing. Now you must tell us what to do.
Now, forth in racers and stop no more.
Now, St. George to borrow, drum-a-dum-a-dum afore.
Right, we'll just briefly pause there. Have we got a trustee? I don't think we have. Helen, would you like to be trustee? Yes, you would. Unmute. Now, the question here, when they're talking about drum, dubba four, in theory, they've got drummers with them. In an ideal world, they would probably also be beating on whichever thing that Roister Doister has on his head, but we're not even going to attempt that. Sarah has brought something to bash, which is excellent. So every so often, maybe Sarah will let you do that, but it might go horribly wrong. Do it visually. Don't do the sound because it will cut out everybody's feed, and it'll be that's one of those problems. Okay, Merry Greek, now St. George to borrow, drum, dubba 4.
Now St. George to borrow, drum, dub-a-dub before.
What mean you to do, sir? Commit manslaughter?
To kill 40, such is a matter of laughter.
And who is it, sir, whom ye intend thus to spill?
Foolish Constance here forceth me against my will.
And is there no mean your extreme wrath to slake? She shall some amends unto your good mastership make.
I will none amends.
Is her offence so sore?
And if he were a lout, she could have done no more. She hath called him fool, and dressed him like a fool, mocked him like a fool, used him like a fool.
Well, yet the sheriff, the justice, or the constable, her misdemeanor to punish might be able.
No, sir, I mine own self will in this present course be sheriff and justice and the whole judge of the laws. This matter to amend all officers be I shall constable, bailiff, sergeant,
And hangman all in all.
Yet a noble courage and the heart of a man should more honour win by bearing with a woman. Therefore take the law and let her answer thereto.
Merry Greek, the best way were even so to do. What honour should it be with a woman to fight?
And what then? Will ye thus forego and leese your right?
Nay, I will take the law on her without grace.
Or if your mastership could pardon this one trespass, I pray you forgive her.
Tush, tush, sir, do not.
Be good master to her.
Oh,
Tush, I say, do not. And what shall your people here return straight home?
yea, levy the camp, sirs, and hence again each one, but still be in readiness if I have to call. I cannot tell what sudden chance me befall.
Do not off your harness, sirs, I you advise, at least for this fortnight, in no manner wise. Perchance in an hour when all ye think least our master's appetite to fight will be best. But soft, there you go. How once at Custom's house?
Soft, what wilt thou do?
Once discharge my arquebus, and for my heart's ease, now once more with my potgun.
Hold thy hands, else is all our purpose clean fordone.
And it cost me my life.
I say thou shalt not.
By the mat, but I will have once more with hail shot. I will have some pennyworth. I will not lose all.
Yes, and that's where the gun goes off. So yes, Roister is really not keen on this escalation of violence with actual firearms, comedy firearms, most certainly. But yes, of course, Merry Greek knows that this is all going to be fine. Roister Doister does not know this is all going to be fine because he's the one who's going to get horribly, horribly hurt. So yeah, we've got this semi-witness figure of Trusty who's there to be intermediary between customs. She's probably come out of the house hearing. He's come out of the house probably hearing the drumming a drub afore. So that's probably an entrance cue. It's suggested in some editions that he's actually been just loitering around, but I think it makes more sense. He hears the drum and he enters. That makes sense to me. Any just general thoughts about that? Because we're going to go into the battle now, and I don't want to linger too much, but lots of thoughts. Oh, flying up here. Eric, Valentina, then Ellen.
I just realized I misread that because like I forgot what happens next. So I basically read this like ho as like sort of like sort of laughter rather than this is an idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Trusty's saying forgive her, and yeah, the ho could be, and of course I never would, but it could also be, oh, that's a good idea, and Mary Greek's the one who has to, no, that's not the game we're playing here. You have to go and fight her. So there's a lot of leeway with actually how that could be played. Again, if Roister is constantly just changing direction and changing what he's thinking of doing. And everyone's just basically grabbing him and pointing him in different directions with his silly hat on. Valentina.
Yeah, I just wanted to say great silent comical underscoring with the drum, Sarah. That was really funny.
Silent drumming.
But no, because she was underscoring every time, like on the lines. It was great. But obviously it was silent.
Yes, only for us. In the play world, they could hear it all. Alan.
Yeah, I was just thinking when the gun goes off right at the end of that scene, I think all the supporting non-speaking roles should be basically looking as if they're either bricking it or trying to head for the nearest exit.
Yes, there's a sense that a tableau has to be created because that's when Custance comes out of the house. So bang, if everybody's in some sort of attitude, and then she comes out and in preparation for battle to be joined, that does make a lot of sense. Okay, other thoughts before we go into Act 4, Scene 8, and this is where it gets complicated. We've just been doing simple stuff. Two people hitting each other. Some people walking forwards and backwards. So yes, let's assign some parts. So we'll stick with those who are already parts. Stay who you are. So Alexandra, you can remain as Custance. We got a Merry Greek. We've got a Roister. We need a Tib. Valentina, I don't think you're down as anyone. You can be Tib. You're on Custance's side. You're one of the ladies. I'd give out Mumblecrust, but I don't think Mumblecrust actually says anything. So sadly, I don't know that. I'm sure there's some fighting in Mumblecrust, but I suspect she probably enters to fight just as the battle ends. That seems to be Mumblecrust's gag there. True Penny. I don't think I've got True Penny. Sarah, would you be a True Penny? You're not anyone at the moment. You're doing a lot of drumming.
Theoretically, I'm Harpax, but I don't think he says anything.
Ah, yes, you're hypothetical. You're a hypothetical Harpax.
So
Harpax
you want me
Harp.
to be True Penny?
True Penny says, I think, two words.
Marvelous.
And yes, we just need to sort of establish who's hitting whom and how and why. And yeah, this should be line by line. I think there's going to be a bit where this is basically, after the opening skirmish, we're going to go through this line by line and figure out where we are. So let's just walk through the script, and then we'll probably walk through the script again in detail. Let's see how this goes. So Custance and all the women, Tib, Aliface, Mumblecrust, Truepenny, etc. enter. So Custance, please.
Sorry. What caitiffs are those that so shake my house wall?
Ah, sirrah, now, Custis, if you had so much wit, I would see you ask pardon, and yourself submit.
Have I still this ado with a couple of fools?
Hear ye what she saith?
Maidens, come forth with your tools in array.
Okay, now that's an obvious physical moment of anyone on Custance's side holds up their implements. It's a terrifying selection of implements. That's going very well. Valentina can do terrible things with that biro.
Yes.
Melt that down into a shiv, and much pain will occur. Yeah. So that's exactly right. That's got to be, maidens come forth with your tools in array, and all the tools come up. And so remember, Custance and Mary Greek, this is slightly performative because you've already agreed in advance what's sort of going to happen here. So there is a slight performative quality to this. Of yes, we are ready to. It may not be that well. I'm not sure. Let's go from maidens come forth with your tools. Stand by your tools, maidens, even if you're not a maiden. I want to see lots of tools.
Maidens, come forth with your tools in array.
Dub-a-dub, sirrah!
In array, they come suddenly on us.
Dub-a-dub!
In array, that ever I was born, we are taken tardy.
Now, sirs, quit yourselves like tall men and hardy.
Now on, afore, Truepenny, hold thine own annat, on towards them, Tibbet, for scape us they cannot. Come forth, Madge Mumblecrust, so stand fast together.
So the Avengers assemble. It's really this whole thing of what is Merry Greek doing? Dub. I mean, I know it's a beating thing. It could be that he's beating on Ralph Roister's helmet. That's one we talked about last time. Is when he's doing that. Are they being surrounded? And can we make that clear on Zoom? And things, or is it the maidens don't come out when we said they came out? Then they come out as Custance calls them. And that's the entry cue for each of the ladies with their various implements. Come forth, Madge Mumblecrust. Time passes. Madge Mumblecrust very slowly wanders out.
Well,
everybody waits, checks their watch. So stand fast together. Gag from earlier. Alexandra.
there is something very simple but hopefully effective that we can do, which is just have the screen come on but not the person, so that what you have is empty space, right? Along comes Custance and 5 blanks, and then we go on with your tools. The tools appear. Right, you, here. Next person here. Next person here. Right, we're all ready and attack. And the forward motion always being the sense of attack. We start off with them not being there, their object being there, the person being there, and then the action.
Yeah, I like that. Alan.
Just one thought. It needs to be made clear who Mary Greek is actually addressing.
Cyrano Custance, doesn't he say Custance in his dialogue?
Well, it's slightly less than clear the way it's written as to whether he's actually talking to Custance's army, or the band that or the mob he's effectively been working with in the previous scene.
It's say Cyrano Custance, and if Custance is the only one who's physically on at this stage, I don't think that's a problem.
So you're thinking that
they haven't assembled in any way.
The insurgents have dispersed effectively.
Well, they haven't entered yet. The women that are literally only Custance has entered at that point.
Okay, sorry, I was just trying to get my head round. Who's where on stage.
Alexandra.
I am likewise confused about that. Have the combatants that are on Ralph's side exited at the end of that scene, and so now we get Custance alone and then her squad, or have the other people, have the troop we've just seen remained on, and there are more people entering?
Yeah, they're still on, and then others enter onto them.
Right.
Nobody's left between scenes. The scenes do not indicate clearance of state.
Okay, so that then comes back to the question of who Mary Greek is addressing.
Cyrano Custance, who has just literally entered and has spoken before him. Helen.
I think for the purposes of a Zoom production, it would be quite interesting for the Doister army to leave, however briefly, for the entrance of Custance's army. So even though they are actually technically still on stage, in order to direct the audience's view, they ought to actually piss off briefly.
Again, just looking ahead on a second look basis, that level of in and outness would be interesting. Eric.
I was gonna suggest they just like sit down, have a sandwich or something, because like they're like, yeah, we're gonna relax, we're not really gonna do anything. There is no chance in hell they're gonna attack us, and then suddenly in a rape, put it down. They come suddenly on us, like, oh my god,
we've got guns.
Yes, spitting out a sandwich or like a banana or something, just like, and then trying to use it as a weapon. I don't know.
Alexandra.
The other thing you could do is have them leave the screen, but leave it on, so that again you've got blank spaces. Because they're told go, leave, take apart the camp, but don't take off your armors, right? So either you could have them, physically depart the space, but leave the space empty, which leaves it open to return into, or depart by actually removing the camera, taking the camera out, and you're left with Roister and Mary Greek going, right, should we leave as well? No, I want to fire my gun. Crap, there are people coming out. Come back, my lot. Or if you leave them on, then it can get very confusing as to how many screens you've got on and how much action is happening in every screen.
Sarah.
I thought I was muted, but I wasn't. Yeah, that's what Alexandra's just said. There was one play that we did, and I can't remember for the life of me now which one it was, but there was one second look that we did where I had an incredibly tight change, and I actually had props and it might have been Cupid in some play. I don't know, when I was blind Cupid and I had to get the blindfold on and find my bow and arrows and whatever, but I can't remember what it was. But what I ended up doing was, rather than turning off my screen, which would have taken extra precious seconds that I needed, I literally just went like that so that I could stay in my chair and grab my props, which I had around me, kind of on the floor, ready to go. But now obviously that's going to be a bit busy if everybody's got different backgrounds, but I mean, we could maybe set up if we could set up something so it was blank, and then literally you can just turn your screen. You're then off for a bit and then turn it back when you come on again. And it does get around that thing of like having to turn your camera off and then turn your camera back on again.
Valentina is just demonstrating there is an even easier way, which is you just cover the camera.
That's brilliant. No, I never thought of doing that. Oh well, I think I needed both hands. But yeah, in this case we wouldn't. So yeah, that's a really good idea.
Post-it note over the top of the lens.
Or a thumb.
I have a folded piece of cardboard
Exactly.
like that, and it just slots over the top.
Cool.
I can do it almost instantly. So that is an analog method.
Yep.
Eric's using a banana. That's a system I approve of. I think that's an excellent system. All forms of fruit are available. It's a big we haven't really got to the sort of wider question. When you've got a battle and you've got so many feeds and so many things going on, how do you leave it as a melee, or do you actually reduce the number of windows and focus in on certain bits of action who pop in and out, or what? Alexandra?
I think there's a difference though between the melee part of it, which we are going to come to, and the setup part of it, which is what we were just talking about. And I feel like in the setup section, it's really important that we define who is what and who is with whom. So these kind of camera coverage situations, those are really useful. In terms of when you're doing the fight itself, it can help to reutilize the things that we've already established of proximity and distance, and you can probably get away with some much more you can establish more clarity by actually having more people in the space. Because if everybody's really tight and there are two people at speaking distance, you will focus on the two people at speaking distance. If everybody's out here and there are two people really close, then you will focus on those two.
So, how shall we proceed into this scene? Which of these working methods do we want to go with? Shall we say that are we in a position for people to disappear off screen or cover their screens initially, so that we say at the top of this scene we can see Customs and we can see Merry Greek, but everybody else is invisible? And then we add people as and when they come into action. You can mark that if you're not in a situation where you can do a complete cover of your screen, or switch off if it works for you. But the idea that we see the tools of the maidens first, so that they uncover their camera, but all we see are their tools, and then when they're called by name, they appear on camera, is a nice idea. But is it going to be practical in this workshop context? We shall see. Lots of good things going on. I'm actually going to switch my video off because I'm not playing anyone, and therefore I will give you more room to breathe. There we are. That's better. Some wonderful spatula spoon work. Elizabeth's spoon work is superb. If it was narrated by Peter Davison, then I would definitely that could definitely go to Button Moon. Okay, let's try from the top of the scene. We'll go through it effectively line by line, and see what comes out. So everybody is off apart from Merry Greek and the entering Customs. Everybody else either has covered their lenses or are switched off. Lynsey is offering a tutorial on spoonwork, which is Lynsey's spatula game is strong. It has to be said in many of these videos. Okay, let's try then from the entrance of Customs, and let's try some dialogue, and we'll stop and start as we go.
What caitiffs are those that so shake my house walls?
Ah, sirrah now, Constance, if ye had so much wit, I would see ye ask pardon, and yourselves submit.
Have I still ado with a couple of fools?
Hear ye what she saith.
Maidens, come forth with your tools in array.
Tool action work. Nice tool, yes, lovely. And continue dialogue.
Dub-a-dub, sirrah.
In array! They come suddenly on us.
Dub-a-dub.
In array that I was ever born, we are taken tardy.
Now, sirs, quit yourselves like tall men and hardy.
On afore, troopany, hold thine own annot. On towards them, Tibbet, for scape us they cannot. Now come forth, Madge Mumblecrust. So stand fast together.
God send us a fair day.
See, they march on hither.
But, mistress,
What sayst thou?
shall I go fetch our goose?
What to do?
To yonder captain I will turn her loose, and she gape and hiss at him as she doth at me. I thus jeopardy my hand, she will make him flee.
On forward!
They come.
Okay, I think we'll just pause there. Very nice stuff. Very nice stuff coming through here. Very nice. I'm loving the random tib. Shall we get our goose and who so that we can hiss at?
That's our goose.
Yeah. No, we don't. We don't need a goose. We're good for geese. Geese is fine. And then we get to effectively the same game we had earlier to a degree. On forward. So Customs lot are going forward. Roister, they come, is probably retreating. Merry Greek is trying to get everyone to stand. And yeah, I'm not really sure precisely how the action of this is going to go, because this is incredibly complicated or incredibly simple. So let's just go through this dialogue in a moment. Thoughts first, Alexandra.
There is a way to make it incredibly simple, which is that you've had everybody come off, you've had the new troop assemble, and then you've got two people, Roister and Merry Greek, saying to their troops, "Come on, wake up, snap to attention, in array." They come suddenly on us. So what that would indicate is that everyone else is in disarray, going, "What? Wait, hang on a second. Where's my tool? Where's my sword? What's going on?" They eventually get it together while the other, because nothing's happening. The other people aren't marching, right? Until on a four troop and hold thine own annot. Arrival of one person, arrival of one other person, arrival of another person, and then they start moving forward into the clash. So you've got, I guess, either that, or you can have the arriving in array being shouted to no one in particular. The Annette and the troop appear, and then you've got again some people being very uncertain of where they should be going, and other people being very certain about moving forward. And then
yes,
you get to.
In array that ever I was born, we are taken tardy is, clearly his men are not exact. Customs shouts in array and everybody gets in position. He shouts in array and everyone sort of goes, "Sorry, what? We're doing what? What?" Yeah, so exactly that kind of thing. Yeah. Then we get to the question of after Customs says on forward, and Roister is saying they come, and the actual true order of business for this fight. And yeah, there's a sense of an advancing army, and not necessarily a retreating Roister of Merry Greek, because they don't have time to stop. And it's a question here. We got this sudden quick flow of dialogue. I wonder if trying to put business in is actually just going to get in the way. So let's just try that. Can we go from accostances, on, forward, they come, stand, hold, etc.? Let's just run that as dialogue and see if there are any clues as to what we should be doing there.
From on forward?
On, forward, they come,
Okay.
stand.
On forward!
They come.
And
Hold.
keep
There.
strike.
Take heed.
Well said, Truepenny!
Ah, horsens!
Well done indeed.
Hold thine own, Harpax. Down with them, Dominant.
Now, Madge, there, Annot. Now stick them, Tibbet.
Oh, my chief quarrel is to this same little knave that beguiled me last day. Nothing shall him save.
With this little queen that hath at me such spite, save ye from her master, it is a very spite.
I myself will mount sire grand captain undertake.
They win ground.
Save yourself, for God's sake.
Out, alas, I am slain. Help.
Oh.
Alas.
Nay, then, have at you, mistress.
Thou hittest me, alas.
I will strike at Custance here.
Thou hittest me.
Oh, I will. Nay, Mistress Custance.
Alas, thou hittest me still. Hold.
Save yourself, sir.
Help. Out. Alas, I am slain.
Truce! Hold your hands. Truce. For a pissing while or twain.
And at the truce, I think, is a logical point to pause. So there's a lot of business going on here. So broadly speaking, one person per one person is needs to be squared off. Communicating that on Zoom is not going to be very easy to do. We then get to the much more fiddly, complicated business of Merry Greek is trying to hit Custance and misses and keeps hitting Roister. And I'm not even sure how you do that in real life, let alone I mean it's presumably it's you lean back and point. Sorry. I'm going to attack. No, oh, sorry. Kind of thing, and making that clear within these boxes is a question. So we've got those things. I think to a degree the clashes, I don't think it matters too much. We could have two people popping up and having their little two lines of dialogue next to each other and then popping out again. I think that would be incredibly complicated. Or it's just an ongoing melee and you just make sure you're aware who your partner is so you can react to their strokes. Alexandra, then Valentina.
So the thing that I was saying earlier about how you'd set it up for battle, I think that's what would make it very easy actually for us to understand what's going on without people doing much, is if you've brought everyone on screen and everyone stays on screen and is having a lot of Gur kind of action really close up, let's say, and then you've got anyone who has to speak needs to get to a distance that is further away to speak, then we will automatically associate those people with speaking to each other, and then they come back into scuffle while someone else goes back. So you get, who is it? Is it Truepenny? Or someone says, I'm going to go for that guy, right? And then Tib goes, that one's mine, and then Doughty comes out and responds to her. Then they go back in. Custance says, I'll go for Roister. Roister comes out and says they win ground. So we get clarity of who the speakers are and who they're speaking to simply by this contrast. You could do it the other way around as well, but it makes more sense to move them further away so that you can see them. And then that means you've got the three people at relatively sort of arm's length to camera distance for the interactions that are, I'll hit you, bang, ow. No, but you've hit me instead.
Valentina.
Yeah, my comment was similar. The other thing you can do is just have them, once like the couples get like sorted, have them leave so that you're left with the three main characters.
Yes, yes, it could be very easily after Doughty's dialogue there of save you from a master. It is a very sprite, and then we're left with Custance, Roister, and Mary Greek from that point onwards, because they're pretty much the only ones who speak. Evermore, in fact, actually, I don't think anyone else says anything substantive during the rest of that fight sequence.
Aliki, that is really unsettling.
But oddly ticklish. Alan.
Yeah, I was just wondering, it's a text thing rather than an action thing, but right at the end of page 62, we got Custance saying, "Well said, Troopany," and at that point he hasn't said a damn thing, and then he comes in with a line, "Our horsens."
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's there might be a line missing, or there's a it can't be a misattributed Roister line, because that line does make sense with Roister, or whether it's just simply reacting to Truepenny doing a physical action. So in the sense that was a good stroke, said moment there. Eric.
I was just wondering, like, basically, Roister Doister gets hurt, like, and he's like, I'm dying, and sort of like overplaying that, right? Twice. Because he's like, I'm slain. But obviously he's not. He's just
he's
overreacting.
Just a typical footballer, having
Pretty
been
much.
tackled. When I was young, I thought tackling meant kick your opponent's shin. I literally didn't know what it meant, because all I'd ever seen was footballers was them lying on the ground going, and after being tackled, and I assumed that's what it meant. I genuinely had no actual genuine knowledge there. Anyway, sorry. Hate sports. So we've got that inny outiness to there, and then we're left with Doughty, Custance, and Roister, and deciding how they're going to hit each other. Shall we focus on that in the remaining moments, as it were? How are we going to? How is Mary Greek going to hit Custance and therefore hit Roister?
I think it's a matter of he's taking an extensive backswing. And each time it's connecting with Roister.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alexandra?
There's a whole bunch of things that you could play with. It's a question of what you want to do in terms of what you want to tell the audience. Because backswings are one, right? I send it behind my head and it hits you behind the head. Ow. So we don't even have to see the object that does the strike. We just have to see the action forward. Ow, ow, ow. And there are also moving upwards, which again, if you had some like cudgel or something and you brought it up over your head, it would then lean backwards and hit the other person. So you could have, I'm preparing, I'm bringing this, from forward, I'm bringing this up, and from behind someone else is going, ow, 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 that way. Those are the two kind of easiest. But you've also got things like, I'll get her right now, bang, elbow in the face. I'm gonna, with this fist in that direction, I'm going to bang, elbow in the face. That sort of thing.
I quite like that one, actually, because that reads slightly better. Eric? Or were you were just doing an action? You were just practicing?
No, I was. Well, I was, but also I was going to say something. And my screen got stuck.
Oh, right.
What was I saying? I feel like if this was on a stage, he would be like between them. So he'd be like, because he's leading the army supposedly, but Mary Greek is next to him going, yes, I will attack her. Sort of like, maybe it's like a side swing in on stage, but then obviously like on Zoom, it would be kind of hard to do.
On stage there are so many things, many.
It really does depend on the size of his implement, as it were, because you can do the whole Laurel and Hardy big sort of bit of wood turning round kind of effect, with it. You know, if you've got a nice big comedy stick, then you can, you know, which is slightly less, you know, he can do all sorts of things. It can be different every time. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing, and that's the thing is, or it's the same twice, and then the third time it's totally different. Aliki.
I do not have an idea, contrary to the chat. I'm klutz, so there's a limit to how much I'll be able to do. I'll try, but I can't promise to time anything terribly.
Well, that's also the thing, is that we're looking for things that we can do relatively simply, you know, or build up a little mini armory of effects that we don't have to go over every time. We do a deliberately ridiculously complicated sequence on the principle that we wouldn't necessarily do all of this as complicatedly.
Yeah.
So yeah, Valentina.
I wonder if it would work if you do a rather simple, like, punch or slap, and one person dodges and the other one gets hit. I wonder if it will read. Because obviously the reactions need to be almost at the same time.
That's an interesting thought. I don't know how this is going to record, but it might be recording in the way. Yeah, actually, yeah. We'll get 3 people. No, it won't work that way. I'm just thinking about on my screen at the moment. I've got Eric, then I've got Alexandra, then I've got Valentina in a row, and I'm just wondering, Valentina, could I just ask? I don't know if it's going to record in this order, but I'm going to just pretend for a moment that it will. Valentina, can you go to punch forward? Valentina, can you just dodge to one side? And Eric, can you get punched in the face?
How many Valentinas do we have?
You mean Valentina punches Alexandra?
So Aliki, I'm just asking you not to do this. Just the way the screen is currently aligned. This looks good to me. This may not look right. It may look terrible for the video as it comes out. But I just want to try it with Valentina hitting, Eric getting hit, but Alexandra dodging to one side.
To the side or down?
Whichever you feel gets out of the way of the punch.
Okay. Is it gonna hurt? No, wait. Ow. That really hurt.
What I liked about that was, on my screen at least, Elizabeth was underneath, and when Elizabeth's video feed disappeared, it was like she ducked. Now, I don't know if this is how the tiles will be arranged in the video when it comes out at the end, so I'm hoping it will, and that sort of worked. I don't think it was perfect. Unfortunately, you can never quite guarantee precisely how it's going to line up.
But you can guarantee that if you have only left 3 people on, and one of them does what you just said about Elizabeth kind of ducking out by actually taking the video off and back on, then you get prep, exit, on the attacker's side, strike, on the defender's side, reaction, and then re-entrance of the third person.
Would it be an idea, Robert, just to try this with those of us not involved in the sequence, taking video out for the moment, just so there are only 3 windows on screen?
Let's try that exact idea that Alexandra just said. Let's see if that works. I will disappear
You
myself.
killed my camera.
Okay, so exactly the same sequence again, and actually it's arranged quite nicely on my screen at the moment. So you can improvise some dialogue, or just go for the hit, just so long as they know it's coming. And again, go on. You can take it. Let him recover. And why are you hitting me? I'm not. I'm trying to hit her.
Oh, it is me. I'm slain.
Lovely. Just to confuse everyone, I'm popping back into
Sorry,
shots.
I think Valentina is just enjoying hitting me.
There is something very therapeutic about a bit of a good online punch. Has to be said. It is rather fun. Yeah, so that does sort of work. I'm not sure it quite communicates. It's also the timing issues with taking out cameras, that there's always a bit of a lag and it's not quite perfect, and it needs to sort of go with a bit of a duck and cut out kind of thing. Alexandra.
But then, if you've only got the 3 people on screen, does it not work to just do the duck? I wonder.
Probably.
Yeah, it probably
Right, because then
does,
we'd still understand what's happening. And also, I feel like a big sort of, stupid cartoony preparation, would also give you more time if you did take the camera out and back on again, right? As well as just more fun, whichever way we do this.
Maybe
it's fun for you.
Okay, let's read to the end of the scene and get to the end of that. So we'll go from the calling of a truce. Truce, hold your hands. Truce for a pissing while or twain. Let's get to the end of the act. See if there's any additional details that we need to sort of deal with.
Truce! Hold your hands! Truce for a pissing while or twain. How say you, Custance, for saving of your life? Will ye yield and grant to be this gentleman's wife?
You told me ye loved me. Call ye this love?
Ye loved a while, even like a turtle dove.
Gay love, God save it. So soon hot, so soon cold.
I am sorry for you. He could love you yet.
Nay, by Cock's precious, she shall be none of mine.
Why so?
Come away by the match, she is mankind. I durst adventure the loss of my right hand, if she did not slay her the husband, and see if she prepare not again to fight.
What then? Saint George to borrow? Our Lady's knight?
Slay whomever else she will. By Gog, she shall not slay me. No.
Oh, then.
Rather than to be slain, I will flee.
To it again, my knightesses, down with them all.
Away, away, she will kill us all.
Nay, stick to it like an hardy man and tall.
Oh. Bones, thou hittest me. Ow, away, or else die we shall.
Away for the pash of our sweet Lord Jesus Christ.
Away, lout and lubber, or I shall be thy priest.
Pause there. So yes, that's a clear exit point for all of Ralph Roister's lot. Again, this is quite a general melee, general hitting forward with spatulas to great comic effect, and beating back and retreating for everyone who's retreating as they exit. I'm feeling that Roister, actually, that final help out, alas I am slain, it really needs to be an injury to the knackers, doesn't it? It just feels like he just needs to be just going, I am completely I'm not having anything more to do with her.
It was probably Mumblecrust who administered the blow.
Yeah, I have to say I would like the coup de grace to come from. Well, actually, doesn't she get off with him earlier? So I'm just thinking that maybe thwarted, passion there.
He knows exactly where to aim.
Yep. Years of practice.
So again, that's a much more general melee. That's a nicely straightforward that we can do. We've done that many times before. They exit, and we have just this last bit of dialogue. We got Tib, we've got Trusty, and the remaining ladies all make their thing. Have we lost Helen, or is Helen?
She's had a couple of intermittent internet down.
Yes, she's back. She's back, but not totally reliably. Not what you might call trusty.
And invisible.
Yeah, sorry. Hang on. I'll sort that out.
Right.
There you go. I was trying to sort of conserve the amount of connectivity I was working on.
Excellent. Okay, so the field is ours. You can all do some nice, happy celebration. You have beaten away those horrible men. Custance.
Yes, away, lout and lubbers, or I shall be thy priest. So, this field is ours. We have driven them all away.
But hey,
Thanks to God, mistress, ye have had a fair day.
Well, now go ye in and make yourself some good cheer.
We go.
We go.
Ah, sir, what a field have we had here!
Friend Tristram, I pray you be a witness with me.
Dame Custance, I shall dispose for your honesty. And now fare ye well, unless something else ye would.
Not now, but when I need to send, I will be bold. I thank you for these pains. And now I will get me in. Now Roister Doister will no more wooing begin.
Which is very much the end of the primary action of the play. Actually, Act 5 is something of a tidy up job, which I have to say in the future, if we did do a full production, we'd probably trim down to the bones and insert quite a lot of their action about here. It's the one flaw in the play. So as we wind down this little play around with this. My primary concern is always at this stage is, are there things we can take into second look read-throughs? And the question of what we do with second look read-throughs. The primary aim for when we do a second look is that we read through a play at pace. It's nice because it gives us a chance to get into character, to do the performance aspect of it, and also to get a sense of how the flow of the action works. It isn't our primary aim to be going for a full performance, Zoom performance style thing. But if we can include elements that we've played around with today, I mean, none of this is definitive, then it helps. So the question is coming back to Ralph Roister, which I want to do relatively soon, so, the next quarter or so. How much of this are we actually going to be able to apply, especially considering it may not involve all the people in this room, and even if we send them a link to this video, will they have watched it? And those sort of questions. It's more a general question about actually the kinds of things we do to keep a second look moving forward, and how much of this we need to worry about. And how much of this, what we've done today, is really genuinely actionable, or is it just going to be we accept and we say at the beginning of the session, it's going to be a bit messy around about here. We've played around with some stuff, but it probably won't work. Don't at us, and that sort of question, because this sequence is so complicated. It's got comedy business. We haven't even dived really into all the comic beats that we can have, as well as there is fighty business, and the fighty business should be comic fighty business as well. So all of those elements going on top of each other. I saw Helen vaguely waving earlier, but I'm sure other people have thoughts as well. Helen.
If I was waving, it was something that I have totally forgotten about. So
excellent, Stephen. Muted at present. Still muted.
Yeah, I was trying to say go to somebody else because I couldn't find the button. Notwithstanding how interesting and upskilling the fight stuff has been, I think the bit we carry forward maybe is the prop stuff, because the thing that seemed to deliver the biggest bang for the buck in terms of the performance was when we sorted out, Alexandra came up with the idea of have the blank, and then the prop comes on, and then the person comes on, and that worked really well, and everybody could do it, and it gave it a lovely visual moment, and it isn't something that you need to do 28 times at half speed and then 30 times at full speed to actually get right. So given the nature of who we are and the nature of a second read, I would say, the meeting beforeward and sorting a little bit out on those lines, and what we do in general in terms of a single performance being part of a group would be the biggest bang for the buck.
Other thoughts? Valentina.
Well, I think similarly, the moving forward and moving backwards, but that can be like for like any second look that we do. If the move forward is always moving forward. Like it's always read the same way, then it's easy for everybody to remember.
Aliki.
Yeah, I sort of agree with both of those. Props, very simple techniques, just a little bit of consistency, because we get really used to being in our little Zoom windows and just reacting as an audience. So then when we get to a second look, it's hard to put yourself back in the, at least for me, in the performer range. And when I'm in a scene, I often find myself drifting into audience like that. Anyway, simple things and consistency. I think we can do really remarkable stuff with it.
Helen.
Yes, I think that you've got to have someone who is Mumblecrust throughout. So, because although Mumblecrust doesn't have a line in 4/8, Mumblecrust is a tremendously important person. You know, I mean, she's the tank. She's the back row of the scrum.
Yeah, there's a lot of love for Mumblecrust. We could do a whole workshop just on Mumblecrust. I would be actually very happy to do that at some point. When we're looking at things much more in a, say, character way or element. All of the characters need. I mean, this is the problem. This is not a play you can sort of double down very much. There are a few parts you can double, but there aren't many. And you're right. Mumblecrust has a greater stage presence. It's a very nicely constructed part. I mean, we can probably assume that it's originally performed by boys, but you know, it is the kind of role that where you don't have to learn that many lines, but you can really steal the scenes, and that's what's really lovely about Mumblecrust. Eric.
I was just going to ask, well, how would you do the dance scene? Because there is a bit where she does like do a bit of a jig, if I remember correctly.
There is Mumblecrust does indeed dance. Mumblecrust does a lot of things. I think. Well, you know, it depends how you set up your camera. That one is it's not a dance with someone per se. It is very much a solo show. So yeah, dealer's choice.
I mean, that audition can't be beat.
Oh, I think Helen has well stamped Mumblecrust as her part. I think there is no doubt there would be riots in Grosvenor Square. You know,
they moved the American embassy, but no. There are many people who can take Mumblecrust. I just happen to have read her in the first read through, and developed a certain affinity. I don't want her to get left out of the scene because she hasn't got any lines.
No, and that no, her presence is vital. You know, she is mentioned by name, and therefore she should be there, and I think that's important. One of the big tidy up questions prior to actually getting this to a second look is actually going through and consistently marking entrances and exits, because the script does not do that, and it's a big problem. Actually, that's one of the bigger backstage issues that we have with doing second looks. Actually, the scripts frequently do not have the properly marked entrances and exits. So, and this one it's just totally wrong much of the time. Though there is an element of individual responsibility. Make sure you know when you need to be on. Alan.
I think actually when we start talking about scenes like the one we've just been talking about, not only do you need the entrances and exits clarified, but I think there is a need for the script to actually include an awful lot of the stage direction in terms of who is addressing who and who is hitting who at any particular time.
The hitting is important. The asides, some of those asides are really important because it's Merry Greek. Some of those lines are asides, and some of those, there's an awful lot. This is the thing, is that this is what Nicholas Udall does, is he writes actually really quite complicated scripts that you need to really... It's not like later Playhouse drama where there's an awful lot of mechanics that go into making it easier to just pick up your part and go on stage. These plays do not do that. It is much more involved, and it's much harder to do because he can just rehearse with the boys whenever he likes. So there does seem to be something structurally different about how he's writing plays. Alexandra.
I concur with your note, both of you, on preparation. Like, it's clearly understandable that there would have been room for more preparation, in the way that this was written as compared to other plays, and it is necessary to have more preparation for us to be able to do something like this. One side of it is preparing the script in a clearer way, as Alan was saying, where you've got, to whom you are doing various things, and also things like, not just camera on, camera off, but disappear, reappear, disappear, type of things, because this is much easier to do than try and get my camera to come on and try to get the internet to allow it to appear and to make it come back in the same spot and all of that, whereas this is a lot easier to do. And also with the action, I think there's preparation in the sense of planning, not necessarily choreographing complicated motion, but planning the clarity of what is going to happen at one point, at what point, and how we differentiate that enough in the audience's mind, like we've just been workshopping. So I think for that purpose, for the who is forward, who is backwards, or who is moving in a different way to the way the other people are moving, that's stuff that can be thought out ahead, handed out, and then you just get the people to meet up and practice that for a bit, rather than, as Stephen was saying, having to actually do complicated physical action that you need to rehearse lots of times, like you would an actual fight on stage.
I'm going to be closing the session in just a moment, though we will continue talking afterwards in more, more in-depth company talk, as it were. But any final thoughts that we would like to throw in? Eric, then Elizabeth.
As someone who's getting hit a lot today, it was actually quite helpful to have the cue of sort of, like, I don't know, either the fist or, the hand or coming, whatever. Because obviously it's very tempting to just look at the script and go, am I supposed to be hit? Yeah, I'm supposed to be hit right now. But then it's like, okay, waiting for the timing to get the timing right is, quite useful.
Yeah, it's the pre-cue that it's
like,
coming.
Oh shit, this is
before it actually does. Yeah.
Oh no.
Elizabeth.
I just wanted to second what Stephen said and what Alexandra said. I found the physicality of today's workshops really, really interesting. I saw some really interesting dynamics amongst the group. So, for example, one of the things I noticed is when we all do something together, that's quite powerful. And then when we switch off and there was only three people doing something, that was also very powerful as well. I really loved Valentina's punch and Eric's reaction, because on my side, or from my view, it was a really perfect reaction, and I was really interested in the reaction shots of people getting punched and hit, because those were some of the best. So some people were clutching their faces, some people just got hit really hard in the face, but I like those reactions as well. So I thought it was a really strong workshop. I never thought of Ralph Roister Doister as being so physical. So for me, that really opened my eyes today, how much physicality you can actually introduce into the narrative, even on Zoom. I thought that was really fantastic.
Yeah, there's something with all Udall plays where there's so much physical business that you just add and add and add, and some of it may not originally have been there, but it's an open invitation. I'm going to have to close the session now, unless Lynsey, who's been watching this session as an outsider, watching us stumbling in the dark. Any final
I don't
thoughts?
think I have anything more to add to what other people have said. I had to be very busy looking at my work screen during a lot of that, so I didn't see everything, but yeah, I mean, I think it's really good to start looking at certain customs, if you like, because I think also once an audience is used to, oh, when they do that, it's this or whatever, they understand the language, and then the performers are establishing those things for the audience, and I think they get them very quickly and accept them, provided everything else is in place. So for what it's worth.
Excellent. On that note, we will be returning to a different kind of battle scene later in the week, and other questions may arise then, as well as in other sessions. We're doing other things, even though we're relatively low energy at this big new year. This is our first session of New Year, so all that remains to say is thank all the people involved in today's workshop, and Happy New Year.